Hey guys, here's another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist for a Friday. Let's see, it is the 22nd of March. So I was finally able to move this bus out of the way. This is the 59. Got the wheels and tires on it yesterday. This morning, pretty much just threw the steering wheel on there temporarily so I could steer it, move it around the shop. And what that allowed me to do was to finally move the Ghia out and do the long-awaited undercoating that I had planned to do all up in the front there. And so let's talk about that first. So pretty much masked off everything from about the doors forward, the sides and everything. Didn't mask off inside the front trunk because this is we're gonna paint all this anyway. I did mask off around the gas tank opening just so I didn't get a lot of excess spray in here. But anyway, so yeah, I started off by painting from the gas tank opening kind of down, getting every which way that I could from there. And then from there, I did the extremely unpleasant task of getting on a creeper essentially and crawling around underneath here trying to get every nook and cranny possible all up underneath there. I think I did a pretty decent job. Got the shock towers, the front beam. Did a pretty good job. Got up in there pretty well. So looking much better than it did before, and pretty happy with how it came out. The other thing that I did was the front about third or so of the pan, which hadn't been done previously. When Octavio replaced the rear pan halves, he did from about here back. He had undercoated that, and then I did the very back of the pan when I did all the undercoating in the back. So finally now I've done the front sort of third all the way up here, and then again all the inner fenders and everything. So real pain in the butt, pretty unpleasant job. That stuff makes a lot of overspray and it kind of floats around and gets on everything. It gets in my contact lenses. It is a fairly miserable job, but I really love how it turns out, especially on a car like this where we're not doing a full restoration. I mean, this is about as nice as I think it's going to get without separating the body and pan and doing everything the quote-unquote correct way. This is pretty close in my opinion, and I mentioned this before on the EV Bug. I actually kind of like the way it looks having everything up under the fenders black. I know that a lot of restorations, ourselves included, all this up underneath here is all body color, but yeah, I think it actually looks equally good all black like this. It kind of looks more like how you would expect a car to come from the factory. When V-Dubs didn't, Volkswagen, they didn't pay a lot of attention up underneath here. They were kind of semi-painted, semi-undersprayed a lot of times. It wasn't really an area where they put a lot of detail in. So I think this is definitely a step up from how they came, and a huge step up from how this car looked when it came in. So anyway, getting all that done allowed me to go ahead and start assembling the front suspension. So if you follow, you know that I had the trailing arms off, had new ball joints pressed into those, went ahead and got new tie rods. The spindles I had previously cleaned up and painted. Got new brake rotors. The old ones were wore out of spec. The backing plates are powder coated freshly. Yeah, the hardware, we went and zinc plated the hardware. You can see there. Yeah, love the way that looks. Just little details like that here and there. Little shiny bits. So pretty much got the steering all installed and started getting ready to install the brakes. I've got the brake master cylinder, which I cleaned up and painted. It was a new one, obviously, but they just come raw. So wiped it down with gas to get all the kind of oil that they're usually packed in off, and painted it. And then I cleaned up the 2 hard lines, which were in really, really good shape. No point in forming new ones. These were basically perfect once I cleaned them. So it's a hard line that goes from the master cylinder to each wheel, so from there to there essentially, and then the shorter one on this side from there to there, where the cylinder will go in. And then this line kind of hanging out there, that's the line that runs to the rear for the rear brake. So yeah, and then went ahead and beat the bearing races in the new rotors, and then packed the bearings and installed the backing plates, installed the rotors, and this is pretty much it. So yeah, it doesn't really sound like a lot now that I'm explaining it, but it was a lot of work, pretty much all day to do all those things. But yeah, the good news is now this car is really coming along. One of the next major things that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to prepare and paint this whole area under here, the whole front trunk, and then the same basically for the engine compartment, because until we do that, you know, there's not really a whole lot more I can do. This car is getting a brand new wiring harness. I don't want to put that in until this is all painted. Makes no sense at all. And yeah, the engine hopefully will be back in the form of a long block here in the next week or so. And I do have all the tin and everything, so I suppose I could put that together. Previously rebuilt the carburetor and a lot of other things. Had a lot of zinc plating done already. But yeah, I guess the other thing is installing the dash. We got a new dash pad, the new wooden panel, the new knee guard that kind of runs along the bottom of the dash. The customer Jim stopped by today. Jim, thanks for coming by. He brought some goodies. He has a complete retro sound radio for it with a little speaker that goes in the stock location. We'll be installing all that. And he brought by a couple steering wheel options. I think him and I both agreed on the one that looked best. It's going to look really good with the wooden dash. He's still got some details to work out on that as far as the adapter and so on. But yeah, so there you go. Very productive day here on the very yellow 71 Ghia. And it's actually, for the most part, starting to go back together, which is exciting. Up until recently, it was mostly just coming apart. So that is it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Monday.